And we're back. It is COMP125, Lesson 1, Part 2 of our broadcast. And we just finished talking about how to sign up for GitHub, right? This is my GitHub account, as well as Microsoft Azure, right? And I talked about in my requirements for your lab here that one of the things you need from a submission perspective is provide a link to your GitHub repository. Well, it can't just be any GitHub repository. It's got to be something that has some kind of meat to it. Let's put some meat in there right now, right? So there's a couple things. I'm going to start off. I'm going to keep this up for a second. I'm going to start off with Visual Studio Code. So if you want to watch me, or if you want to use Visual Studio Code, I would ask that you pull up your Visual Studio Code up now. If there is, it does exist in the machine in front of you, chances are, right? So Visual Studio Code is how I'm going to start. When you use Visual Studio Code, you need to have some kind of folder. Now here I'm on the Mac. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to make a new folder on the Mac. I'm going to put it on the desktop. And I'm going to call this thing Lesson 1, right, if I can get to it. So COMP125 Lesson 1 is what I'm going to call it, right? And the way to use Visual Studio, and I have some stuff in here, is you drag and drop this folder onto your Visual Studio like this, Visual Studio Code. All right, cool. Notice that my folder, well, is empty, right? I got nothing in there. So you got to do everything by hand, right? I'm starting off the hard way. If you did Visual Studio 2015, 2013, that's the easy way. I'll show you the easy way later. Let's do the hard way first. So one of the things that I want you always to use is a specific folder structure. And this is what I want you to put up on GitHub. That's why I told you, I know some people are like jumping ahead. I made my hello world. No, no, wait for me, please, while I show you what you need, right? Notice that there's some buttons here on Visual Studio Code. One of them is the new file button. There's also a new folder button up here. I want to make a new folder, several folders actually. Let's make a new folder. And I'm going to call the first folder Contents. Make another folder. I'm going to make another folder. By the way, make sure you click away from this folder. Another folder, and I'll make another folder called Scripts. Right? Content Scripts. I click away. What happens if I don't click away and it's in here? And I make another one, like Assets. Oh man, this isn't what I want because Assets is inside of Scripts. Well, I can always just pull it out. So I click on Assets and I pull it out away down here, and then it's outside in the root. This is the root of your folder, or the root of your website, right here. Assets, Content, Scripts. Hey, HTML5 101. For most websites, here's a quiz. What should your first page be called in order for your website to work? The first page. What should you call it? There's a couple names. Index.html will work. Index.html will work. Default.html will work. Default.html will work, most likely. If you call it mywebsite.html, it may not work. Please don't use some special name like helloworld.html. Don't do that. There always has to be an index.html for most websites, okay? So, Assets, Content, and Scripts, these are my folders. Now I got to prepare you for some stuff. Let's add in a new file. So I'm clicking away from here, and I'm clicking New File. And I'm going to name it index.html, like we talked about, index.html. Here it is. And notice I got nothing in here. Like I got nothing. My index.html is empty, right? Let's make up an index.html. What's the first thing we put in? Review. What's the first thing we put in our index.html? The top of all of our HTML pages. Doc types, right? So we go like this, doc type HTML, right? That's the first thing. Without a doc type, our browsers won't know what to do with our HTML. Okay, here's my super duper shortcuts. I'm going to do some shortcuts here. Please don't be afraid, okay? Don't run away screaming in the night when I do this right now, okay? I swear it's going to get easier. Are you ready? HTML, right? Here's my head. That's my body, right? Let's put some brackets around my head and my body, right? Head of my body, here's my head, here's my body. Inside my head, I want a title. And then when I go to the end here, this is in Visual Studio Code, I press tab. I got my head and my body, right? Show me that again, Tom. It looks like this. What is this called? What am I doing? Don't be confused. It's called Emmet. I'm using something that's built into Visual Studio Code. I got to talk about the features of Visual Studio Code. Why am I choosing to use it? And one of them is called Emmet. Emmet is a shortcut language. It's a toolkit that we use to cut down on creating HTML content. All right. And when I click on download, you can see that it's available for most web IDEs and development tools like Eclipse, Atom, Sublime. I didn't mention Sublime. I should also mention Sublime. Sublime is a very popular editor out there. It's totally okay to use that in this course. Brackets, NetBeans, Dreamweaver, oh my God. Notepad++. So there's a bunch of different things that it supports. It even supports things in Visual Studio. We'll talk about Visual Studio in a second too. We'll do the same thing in Visual Studio. Yeah. To Visual Studio Code, yes. If it's not, you can always go down to the bottom here, right? If you got the latest version of Visual Studio Code, you can always go back down to here, and you can always do something like install extension. It should be installed. And if I type in Emmet, right? That's what you put in there. Now it should be installed automatically, and you notice I can't even put it in. I put it in here because, you know, it's in there. But let's say if I want to show installed extensions down here on the left, I go, or I can press F. By the way, you can also press F1 on your machine. If I press F1, you can also go by start typing extensions. If I want to show installed extensions, and if I type in Emmet, right, you notice that there isn't anything in there because it's built in. Right? But that's how you would add extensions to Visual Studio Code. So when I type tab, it adds all this stuff in, my HTML, my head, my body, all this stuff's in here. Don't worry about the details right now. Let's continue. All right, under HTML, my language is English, right? I can put that in there too, right? I also need something like in my title, hello world, right? Because that's what I want to make you do, right? Hello, comma, world. There we go. And also, under my head, I need a couple of meta tags. Most popular meta tags in the web these days. One of them is my character set is equal to UTF-8. I need that. And the other one, which is a little more complex, is name is equal to viewport. Please copy what I'm saying here. Content is width is equal to device.width, and then initial scale is equal to 1. Right, what this does is it makes it so it's mobile compatible right here. So this does. How about some content like an H1 tag that says hello world, right? H1. Then I type in hello world. Oops, hello comma world. Gotta do it right. Hello world. Cool. And I want to save. So I've got my index.html page. I've got my hello world. And I've got my head and my body. And remember, my body is where all my content goes in there, right? Let's add some comments. How do you add HTML comments? How do I do it? What series of keystrokes do I use? Left hand sign, exclamation mark, dash, dash, right? And then we do something like this. CSS section, right? CSS section. We're gonna make our own CSS too, right? And then there's going to be a point where there's going to be some JavaScript. By the way, there's 3 ways to add in JavaScript into your code. Hint, hint, this is going to be on your test next week on Wednesday, right? I know, I'm telling you. Hey, by the way, this test, yeah, a quiz. So here's the 3 ways. There's one, you can do it inline, right? That's the first way, right? So you can add, actually, it's JavaScript in there. Inline is terrible. Don't use inline, all right? You can actually do it like between script tags, like this. I can do something like a script, and inside my script tag, I can put my JavaScript in here, right? Like, you know, something, and I can put it in here because I can, by the way, JavaScript comments are like this, like C# comments, right? Where you can do something like, you know, JavaScript goes here, right? This is one way of doing it. By the way, you might see examples online like this, right? We won't be using it, all right? So scrap that. So that's the second way. So inline is one way. Inline means you actually type a tag inside your code, and you go, do some kind of stuff inline. We won't do that. And the last way is actually an external file, which is the best way, right? We're always going to do external files in this course. So we're going to have a JavaScript section. Okay, cool. So I want to make 2 new files. One of them has to be under content, and the other one has to be under scripts. I'm going to add my custom CSS under my scripts, my content, and we're going to call it app.css and app.js under scripts. Okay, let's do that. So there's my content. I'm going to right-click onto there and go plus, and add in app.css. And we're going to just have this in as some custom styles over here, right? That's for CSS. We're not going to put anything in there right now. Just an app.css file that says custom styles go here. And then, yes? You got to make those, man. You got to go new folder and make those folders, right? All right, and under scripts, here's under scripts, we're going to make a new file, and we're going to put in app.js, right? And this is where we're going to have our custom JavaScript, right? Notice that this is the comment style for JavaScript, right? Notice in CSS I use this comment style. By the way, this comment style also works in JavaScript, right? And this is part of your first PowerPoint. By the way, the PowerPoint is up online right now in the week 1 folder of your content folder, and it's in PDF format, okay? That's everything that we're talking about today and next day. Okay, cool. So we've got this stuff, app.css and app.js. Those 2 things are in here, right? Inside my content in my scripts folder, app.css, app.js. But they're not linked to my index.html. I want you from now on in this class to think about this folder, this file right here, your index.html, as your manifest. If you don't have an index.html and if things aren't tied into it, right, they don't exist inside your app. Even though I have app.css here and app.js here, but because they're not inside my index.html or linked, they don't exist in my app. How do I link a CSS document? How do I do that? External CSS document. Come on, guys. This is CSS 101. Anybody? No one remembers? Geez, we're in trouble. Huh? Hyperlink. Yeah, hyperlink. But what's the tags that I need? What? No. Link, guys. Link. And I'm gonna go. God, this is now I know what to do. Content, and I want to go into app.css is what I'm going to put in there, right? I've linked my CSS page to my index.html. This is my custom CSS page right here, right? Okay, I want to link my my JavaScript file. This is something new, and to do that, you need to use the script tag. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say script. And I need a source. I'm going to put this is a source attribute in my script element, and I'm going to talk about my folder first, which is scripts. That's my scripts folder. This is the path, and underneath my scripts folder, I need app.js, and then press save. This is the complete document here, right? So I got my apps.js, right, and I've got my app.css, right, and those 2 things now are linked to my page. But app.js, right, has nothing in it, and app.css also has nothing in it. Okay, let's put some initial code in here, all right? So the first thing I want you to put in, the first thing you're going to learn with your app.js, first code, you're going to type in console. Take a look at the code hinting I'm getting. Console, this is code hinting, .log, console.log. Just like console.writeline, you know C#. We know C# in this class. Some people should know that by now, right? Some people should. All right, console.log, and we're going to say app started. Okay, so we're going to use console.log, in order for us to troubleshoot our app a lot of times, right? That's what we're going to do, right? So let's go over this a little bit to help you understand. We have our index.html. we've linked our style sheet inline here, or actually an external file to our style sheet right here, app.css. And we've also linked our JavaScript file here in this method. Remember I told you this is the way I want you to do it all the time. There's 3 methods: inline, between the script files, I like to call that between the sheets, between the script files, as well as external. This is the way we do it externally, all right? And we want to use external way all the time. I never want to do it inline as much as possible. Now, there are going to be some cases where we have to, right? Or a framework might ask us to do it that way. But for now, for the most part, I want you to learn how to do it this way. Okay, let's test this out. In Visual Studio Code, if you right-click on the bottom over here, you have a couple of options. One of them is Reveal in Finder or Explorer, File Explorer, if you're using Windows, right? Or open a terminal or open a command prompt if you're using Windows, right? Let's open a, Reveal in Finder or Explorer. Let's do that. Because this is such a simple website, right? All I have to do is double-click on my index.html to make it work, right? If I come up, it says "Hello World." You should be able to see that now, yeah? Index.html. But wait, how do I get to my console? I showed you this earlier. I'm going to start pointing at people. How do I get to my console? How about one of the girls here? What's your name? Yeah. Tatiana? Tatiana, how do I get to my console in Chrome? Right-click, inspect. Okay, good. And then console, right? Hey, take a look. App started, right? That means that my JavaScript ran. That's my first, guys. If you did this in girls, you made your first JavaScript program, right? This is it. You did an app started, right? Look, take a look. I did this already. Look, here. Scripts, and then I went to my app.js. Yay, app started. Hello world, right? So let's recap, right? Because we need to kind of go over this again one more time for people who didn't get this quite as fast. I created my folder for Visual Studio Code. I created my folder on my desktop. When I launched Visual Studio Code, I dragged and dropped my folder onto the Visual Studio Code. I just dragged and dropped it like this, right? And then inside Visual Studio Code, I created 3 folders: assets, content, and scripts. And inside there, inside content, I have app.css. Inside scripts, I have app.js. And then my index.html, which binds everything together. No index.html, no Go. You have no website. Okay, cool. Let's do the exact same thing in Visual Studio. So Windows, pull up Visual Studio. For those people who want to follow along with Visual Studio now, you can do that. Pull up your Visual Studio, please. So that way it'll give you 2 choices, right? So I'm going to show you how to do it both ways, just in case you want to do it the easy way. This is the easy way to do it. There's the hard way, the way I like to do it. I'm going to always do it the hard way, right? But you guys can always do it the easy way if you feel it's so inclined. I won't feel angry, okay, if you do it the easy way. I'm not going to look and go, damn, I'm angry because you did it the easy way with Visual Studio. I'm not going to do that, right? It's your choice what kind of IDE you want to use, okay? I just want my output. When I give you an assignment or if I give you a lab, I just want what I want. I don't care how you do it, as long as you don't cheat. All right, so here's where you're not cheating, but it's the easy way. I need to make a new project. Are you with me? Who's with me with Visual Studio 2015, 2013? If you're not with me, please kick it up in front of you. Let's try this out. Please use this as a backup, just in case Visual Studio Code doesn't work for you or it's giving you problems. Let's do it like this too, okay? So you have 2 ways of doing it with me, okay? So you can follow along one of these 2 ways. I'm waiting. Are you guys all ready? How about the guys in the corner over there? You guys Visual Studio 2013 up? 2013? How about the guys in this corner over here? You guys all good with 2013? Guys aren't even paying attention over here. Hello. Are you guys, do you have Visual Studio 2013? You're going to use the Mac, right? Yeah. Okay, how about the guys who don't have a Mac? Are you going to use Visual Studio 2013, 2015? Can you pull it up? You got it up already? Okay, cool. So let's go. New project. Now with 2015 and 2013, it's slightly different, but what I want to do is I want to go look at Visual C#. You can also choose VB, doesn't matter. Visual C#, and then web, and then ASP.NET web application is what I want. Even with Visual Studio 2013, you'll still have this ASP.NET web application. Okay, let's make our hello world, right? So we're going to go down here and we're going to say COMP125 lesson 1, right? And I'm going to click on, notice there's some buttons down here, create directory for solution, leave that checked. And underneath there, this says create a new GitHub repository, leave that off for now, right? And press OK. I know, because I'm using 2015, and you're probably using 2013. But all you need is to go to Visual Studio C#, under Web, there should be an ASP.NET Web application, yeah? That's the one I want you to choose. And then press OK. It'll start doing its dance, and it'll come to this page, and you might see some pages like this. In 2015, Visual Studio 2015, there's 2 parts, ASP.NET 4.5 templates and ASP.NET 5, soon to be called ASP.NET Core. That's the new name that they're going to start calling ASP.NET 5. There's empty under ASP.NET 4.5. That's what I want you to use, empty. Don't use web forms, don't use MVC, don't choose any of these other things. They'll just mess you up. Please just choose empty. Even if you're using Visual Studio 2013, there should be an empty option. Press OK. It'll generate the project for you, right? One day. Now I'm running in an emulator. I'm using Fusion on my MacBook, right? So we kill these things here. Let's see, there's some more. And I want to look at Solution Explorer. Now you can pin it. I've got it unpinned, but you can pin Solution Explorer or unpin it to hide it. I'm going to pin my Solution Explorer up for now. Right, here's my Solution Explorer, right? Notice that there's a bunch of stuff here. Ignore it. Don't touch it. If you're using Visual Studio 2015, 2013, leave this alone, right? Don't have to do anything. I want you to right-click on your project. There's 2 parts. There's the solution and there's the project. I want you to right-click on the project, and I want you to click Add, and then HTML page. I want you to create your index.html. I told you this is the easier way, and this is why, right? It's ready to go, right? Well, there's a couple things we need to add in. We still need to add some meta tags in there. We'll do this in a second. We also need to make some folders over here just to make it the same. So I'm going to right-click on my project again and go Add, New Folder, and I want to put in scripts. We'll do the same thing with the other ones. Right-click, Add, New Folder, Content. Right-click, Add, New Folder, Assets. Okay, cool. We got assets, content, and scripts. Let's put a title, which is, hello world. Okay. And let's put some meta tags in there. Now the meta tags you're gonna laugh how fast these are. Meta tags, and I'm gonna say character set, right? It's equal to UTF-8, right? And let's put in our meta tag for our content. Name is equal to viewport, and content is equal to width is equal to device width. Width is equal to device width initial scale 1. That was fast, huh? Nothing for me to type, in fact. So bad, right? Save. Okay, I need a couple things here. I need a section. It's taking its time here on my computer, which is good. It needs to allow you to catch up a little bit if you're behind. The next part is I need to add in my JavaScript content and everything else. So let's add in my comments. So I'm going to say something like, oh, well, just UTF-8 here. I don't need that already. I just typed it in. I need to add in my CSS section here, like we did before, right? These are comments. And in my CSS section, I don't have it yet. I also want to add in my H1. Hey, take a look. If I press Tab, it still works, right? And I can always put in my content in here, which is hello world. Right? And here's my JavaScript section. Surprise, surprise, I'm doing the exact same thing, right? Okay, here's my JavaScript section, and I'm going to press save that. I'm going to go back to my Solution Explorer, and I'm just going to pin it here for a second. I want to create a couple of more things. Under assets, I have my content. I have my content folder selected, right-click, add, and then new style sheet is what I'm adding in. We're going to call this app.css. And as a body tag, I don't care about that body tag. I'm just going to put in some like custom styles. Custom styles live here. How about that? I'll save that one. And I also want to have my scripts, right-click, add a new script. Here's my new script, so add new JavaScript file. By the way, if you can't get it through add new, you can always go to add new item, right? If you go to add new item, it's going to give you a list, and you can choose JavaScript file. That's the other way to do it. We're going to just call this app.js, right? Here's my app.js. And then underneath this, we're going to put in, you know, custom JavaScript. It's here, right? Okay, but remember, what did I say about my index.html? Are my two files, app.css and app.js, are they linked to my web application right now? No, because they're not linked to my index.html. My index.html is my manifest that links everything together. Without that, I have nothing, okay? So I need to drag and drop. This is not even copied now. Here's the easy part. I'm going to drag and drop my app.css here. Yeah, I told you it's easier. And I'm also going to drag and drop my app.js here, right? Done. I know, it's bad. Let me go back into my app.js, and let's put that piece of code in there and start typing console. Take a look how it comes up, console.log. Lots of good code ending, just like we had in Visual Studio Code. And we're going to put in something like, you know, app started, because that's what we had in there before, right? And save. Are you with me? Are you with me? Right? No. It just did the exact same thing twice, right? And there's a reason for that. One, you can see it twice, right? Because you've seen it one time, now you're seeing it again. And the other one I'm doing it in, I have my console log. That's the first command, if you will, in JavaScript that's built into JavaScript that I want you to learn, right? Okay, how do we test it now? We tested it before. We tested it on, you know, by right-clicking and going to the file and double-clicking. You can do that here too, but you know, it's far easier to do just test in Google Chrome. You can also test in different browsers that you have installed. I have Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, whatever, Microsoft Edge. I'm going to use Chrome here, and I'm going to click play, right, or debug. And what it's going to do is going to kick off a little version of Internet Information Services, the server. And here's my hello world in Chrome on Windows, right? And if I right-click here, and if I go to inspect, if I click on console, I got app started, and it also gives me this error. It says, failed to load resource. I'm looking for my favicon, right? Don't worry about this. Ignore that error because that's a Microsoft thing. If you refresh the screen, you notice that it's still there. We're good. So hello world, app started. Hello world, app started. Mac, Windows, Mac, right? Visual Studio Code, lightweight cousin of Visual Studio. This is the fat Visual Studio, the fat cousin, right? 70 million lines of code. Visual Studio, 2013, 2015. Visual Studio Code built with TypeScript and JavaScript technologies. Very lightweight. That's why I choose to use it for modern web development. You don't need Visual Studio. Visual Studio is a beast, right? It's nice, but you don't need it. Now, there's a lot of cool things you can do with it because it's drag and drop. And if you're a lazy person and you want to do it the lazy way, I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to say, I'm mad at you because you're using Visual Studio. Do whatever you want. At the end of the day, it's the way you want to do it. In an exam, it won't matter to me. Whatever IDE, if you want to use Cloud9, if you want to do whatever, it's up to you, right? It's your choice. You're the developer. I'm just giving you some options, tool options, which one you want to use, which ones you feel more comfortable with. From now on, I'm going to be using Visual Studio. If you want me to show you also in Visual Studio Code, or sorry, feel bad. I'll be using Visual Studio Code. If you want me to show you in Visual Studio, I will, if you ask me to. But for the most part, I'm going to be doing everything in Visual Studio Code. Okay? All right, that's cool. So I've got this piece. Now I want to put it up on GitHub. Well, there's two things I need to do to put it up on GitHub, and this is one half of your requirement for tomorrow, right? Here's one half of your requirement. And I may have to extend you till Wednesday because I realized we just ran out of time. So what do? I have to go on GitHub, and I'm going to click on, when I'm signed into GitHub, right, not desktop for GitHub, but if I go to GitHub itself, I need to click on this plus. Now for me, I'm going to put it in new repository, and it's going to ask me for some options, like who's the owner? I'm going to put it for you guys under something called Centennial College. So if you want to find my code on GitHub, you go github.com, Centennial College. Yeah, I stole it. It's mine. I'm the only one that has Centennial College. So go there, and if you go to Centennial College, you're going to see my repo listed as COMP125 lesson 1. There it is, right? Once I create my repository, it gives me some instructions. Here are the instructions that I need to put in my command line if I'm using Visual Studio Code, right? So if I go back to Visual Studio Code, there's a couple of things I need to do here to make it available to you. One, right-click. Remember, I also have the videos you can always watch if you didn't catch it. If I went too fast, you can always watch my videos, right? Open in Terminal, or open in Command Prompt if you're a Windows user, okay? When you open in Terminal, right, it brings up my terminal window, and I want to do a couple things. Here's the first command to learn with Git. Git init. What this does is it initializes your GitHub repository. So what is this Git init? Well, remember what we talked about before? My local machine, it creates this hidden .git folder on your machine. That's what it does. This .git folder just all of a sudden pops up, right? Now, it's invisible. So if I was to do a directory or a list, you can see that it doesn't exist. I go ls-al, here it is. There's the hidden .git folder that exists. Okay, cool. How do I do that in Visual Studio? Here's Visual Studio. I'm going to right-click here, and actually, I got to right-click on the solution. If you're using if you're a Visual Studio person, I want to add solution to source control. See this? This is what you do. This is why it's easier. Okay, now you choose. You know, it's going to ask you which one do you want to use. Now, mine is defaulted to GitHub, to Git. That's my version control, right? But it'll ask you, do you want to use Git or Team Explorer? You know, Visual Studio Team, and I don't want that. Under Visual Studio, I want to click on Team Explorer. There's an actual tab on the bottom near Solution Explorer called Team Explorer. And if I click on this little house button, this home button, I notice that I have some changes, and you can see that there's no stage changes, right? Because I haven't added it into I haven't added this into source control at all. Okay, so again, some options. You might see if you click on changes, it might show you a list of changes to your solution. Okay. Here's something to note on Visual Studio, right? If I click on branches, notice that there isn't an active repository for the branch. We're going to talk about what branches are in a second. Okay, I know we're running out of time. 2 more minutes. So I've got my stuff initialized here. It's not initialized here, even though I've added it to source control. I haven't initialized it on this side yet. I have to do the same thing in a second. Now, it might be different on yours if you're using Visual Studio 2013. That's okay, right? We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back over here. So, clear on the Mac, CLS on Windows to clear the screen, right? If I go git add dot, these commands, git, you need to use the git command. Now, this is only going to work for you if you have git installed. Remember I talked about git installed? Getting your desktop.git. If you get desktop git, which is here, right? desktop.github.com. If you download this desktop tool for Windows, Mac, it'll give you your GitHub console, which will allow you to do everything I'm doing right here. Okay? You'd have to install GitHub by yourself, right? So if you don't know how to install, if you don't know how to install Git by yourself, you'd have to do it this way. Whereas in Microsoft, it's already been installed, but you need to add it to the repository, right? So one of the things with Microsoft is I want to manage my connections. And if you notice, one of the things I want to do is I don't have a repository that's currently built into my files. I want to add this to the repository. So I want to search this. Even in Microsoft, I can do the same thing, right? If I want to right-click on the project, right-click, and I want to open folder in File Explorer, I can do that. Here's my File Explorer. Here's my folder. Notice I have the exact same package here, right? I want to go to this main package, COMP125 lesson 1, though, right? And I want to open up, if you have it ready, this is what's going to happen next day when we get together. Remember, I'm going to open up this command prompt, and this is how it should work for you. Here's command prompt. I'm going to do CD space, and then drag my folder from here onto my command prompt. It gives me my path right away, right? Oops. And then when I do that, if I do a directory, I can see all my files. And here I do the same thing. I'll do a git init, and then git add dot for adding everything. That's going to add all my files to the, to my repository. And when I say git add dot, there's actually another place this adds everything to. There's something called the staging area that we're going to be talking about next day. So it adds all your files to the staging area. Okay, now I need a friendly name for my my repository. We're going to say git commit. We're going to make a new commit message. Think about a commit as a snapshot message. You're labeling your snapshot. I'm taking a snapshot of all my files right now, right? And I'm creating a message to snapshot my files with. Usually we use, by convention, two possible messages: initial commit or first commit. So we put initial commit. It adds those in. On the Windows side, we can do the same thing. So I can say git commit -m for message, right? Initial commit. There it is. Adds all those files in. Now we're good. We've added them all in locally. Going back to here, we've already done this piece. Now we got to connect it remotely. And the way to connect it remotely is to go back to my GitHub file, which I got already. Remember we did this? I got these two little commands here. And now you can do this either in Windows or in Mac. If I copy these two things, copy them. And if I go back to terminal or command prompt and paste them, I just added my remote. Here's what this does. It adds the remote repository to my local repository, connects those two pieces. And then I push everything, all my local files, to my remote repository. I press enter. I'm going to show you the easy way later on, next week or next day when I get together with you. I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. This is the hard way. I will show you the hard way first, then we'll do the easy way, right? On this side, it'd be the same thing. I copy and paste, but I can't do the same repository twice because I can't connect to two different repositories. It doesn't work like that. Okay. What does this mean? What did I just do? And by the way, when you go over here, it may ask you to log in and put your password in if you haven't set that up properly. Well, let's take a look up online on GitHub. Go to my GitHub now. Go to Centennial College / so github.com/Centennial College / COMP125 lesson 1. Go there. You'll see my files. This is where I'm going to be sharing all my files with you through the entire course. They're all going to be shared on the web, right? Anywhere in the world you can get these files, right? That's why we use GitHub. We share things on GitHub. There's 3 reasons why we use GitHub, right? A backup, for version control, and for collaboration. Those are the 3 reasons, right? By the way, I'm going to probably test you on that next week on Wednesday, right? So those are the 3 reasons. Those 3 reasons why we use GitHub. So if I look at my index.html, if I click on one of these things, I can actually look at my code. And I can do the same thing with my scripts. Here's my app.js on my scripts. There it is, my little console log. So if you couldn't follow along, you can always go back to, here, right, to my GitHub, my Centennial College COMP125 lesson 1 repository to follow along with the video and do it again, okay? Now I know it went fast, and I know I gave you a due date of tomorrow, but I think we need it to be on Wednesday. So I'm gonna make it so it's Wednesday at midnight for your lab 1, just to let you know, because there's 2 parts to it. The first part we talked about today, we gotta skim the surface, we gotta talk about it again next day, and then we gotta talk about Azure, which is the next piece. Those 2 pieces are due Wednesday, and I wanna make sure you guys know everything. Remember, I'm not gonna test you or give you stuff that you can't do, right? So when we get together next day, we'll talk about the next piece. Okay, questions before we go? I know it's a lot we covered. Yes?
Yeah. So how do you want to structure ours?
Doesn't have to be like mine. I mean, it should look something like mine, yeah, but it should be your account. Your account name would be here.
Looking like that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Please don't just copy my files, right?
No.
That would be bad.
It's due Wednesday.
It'll be due Wednesday. I'll change it. It'll be due Wednesday. So I'll change it right now. So if I go to my folder here, notice that my restrictions, I put it under Tuesday, right? I'll make it Wednesday. There we go. Okay, so that's Wednesday. It's due Wednesday now at 11:59. So it's midnight. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. So we haven't done the Azure part yet.
We're going to do the Azure part next day. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next day, and we'll do more of this stuff. Don't be afraid. We're going to take care of all this by the time you get back, and you guys will be experts before you leave this class. All right? Thank you.
Okay.